Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It is another Thursday, March 24th. Where did the month go? I cannot believe we're almost through the first quarter of 2022. Amazing. I hope everyone is doing well. I am Doreed Whitlock. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Samuel Fields Consulting Group. I am delighted today to welcome our guests. First, let me introduce to you our CEO, Mistress Megan Samuel Fields.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, Doreed.
Good afternoon. And let me put everyone on notice. We're in for a treat today, a really exciting discussion. And we're going to be transparent. Our guest, Jacqui Quinn Leandro, the Honorable Jacqui Quinn Leandro. She is not in studio with us. We actually did a recording about 2 days ago. She was unable to make it. That's the beauty of technology, that we can still maintain our schedule, even though people might not be available. So Jacqui is not with us. She had another commitment during this time slot, but we are determined that the show must go on. And so we pre-recorded our discussion, so that does not affect the value of the discussion. It's really great. But I'm just putting you on notice, it's a long one. So if you have things to do, pace yourself. Of course, you can always catch up on YouTube. If you miss any part of this or previous broadcasts, you should go to our YouTube channel. And while you're there, we ask that you subscribe. So Megan, how's it been? How's your week been going?
My week has been pretty good. It's been pretty busy, but busy is good.
Busy is good.
I'm enjoying it.
I always say I'd rather be busy than wanting to be busy.
Oh, absolutely. What about your week? How has your week been?
Pretty busy, but you have to keep it moving. We have lots of great things coming up. Let me use the opportunity to just let everyone know that we've been having a great month celebrating women throughout the month of March. And of course, so far we've spoken to 3 amazing women. Our 4th honoree or person that we are talking to is Jacqui Quinn, as I mentioned. And also next week, we're lucky we have 5 Thursdays in March. So we have a bonus. So next week, we're actually having a day. We're having a women's jam. We're going to be playing some games, doing some challenges. We're going to celebrate women and our money mindset.
Yes.
And how we can get that intact. So let me stop mouthing off, because we have a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. That's next Thursday at 5, March 31st. Mark your calendars. Bring a girlfriend, bring someone, bring a guy. We're celebrating women, but everyone's invited. So this is a chance to, like when they tell you bring a friend for Easter service or a Christmas service, we're celebrating women. Bring a friend with you next week. And of course, thank you for all of your great feedback on our newsletter. For those of you who send us feedback, we appreciate it. For those who would like to get our newsletter, send us an email at info@samuelfieldsconsulting.com. We'd be happy to add you to our mailing list.
Absolutely.
And keep the comments coming. We like hearing from you, and we really appreciate your feedback. So another program we have to make you aware of, and if I seem like I'm rushing, I just know that we have a lot to get to. In April, we celebrate Financial Literacy Month. And we are going, of course, we like themes. We're going to have a packed agenda. But one of the highlights is a youth conference that we're doing. It's called the YOLO Summit. YOLO, of course, is, you only live once. But we've made YOLO Youth Opportunities, Lessons and Outcomes. And it's going to be about youth and finance. And we'd like to share with you a quick 1-minute video, just so you can, if you have young people in your circle, you are an auntie. When we say young people, we're looking at 15 through 35. We want to make sure that they have the tools to navigate this crazy world with everything that's happened in COVID. It's turned our lives upside down. So imagine for the younger people who have less experience. a lot of them need our support. So share the word that we're having a youth conference. It's about money. And Nick, let's get that video going. It's YOLO time.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space with the air, like I don't care, baby. By the way, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back.
Oh, wow. It looks like we had some challenges along the way. Was it only me, or it seemed like it was going faster and slowed down? And so I'll take a look at it, but hopefully you got the message. And again, mark your calendars. It's April 24th. If you have youth that you're related to or are in your circle, spread the word. The YOLO conference is coming to town. It's a virtual conference, so everyone can join in. Okay, so we are going to get into our discussion. We want to welcome all of our guests who joined us today. If you have friends who like the show or are curious about it, send them a note, tell them that we're live. And it's a good time to join because we're going to delve into a really great discussion. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you, and again, we've told you it's a pre-recorded discussion, but we're so excited to share it with you. A discussion with myself, our CEO, Megan Samuel Fields, and the Honorable Jacqui Quinn, who, as you know, was Antigua and Barbuda's first elected parliamentarian. She served for 10 years, first as Minister of Labor and then Minister of Education. So take it away to our technicians. Let's start this discussion. Okay, friends, we're back. And as we mentioned earlier, we are delighted to have in our presence this afternoon Miss Jacqui Quinn. And for most of you who are from any generation, we are so proud to welcome Jacqui to our studio. Jacqui was a school friend, so we think we can call her Jacqui. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, she was the first female elected to our parliament here in Antigua and Barbuda, and it gives me distinct pleasure to welcome Jacqui to our virtual stage. Jacqui, how are you today?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dorit and Megan, for inviting me to Likkle Byte Ideas. I just want to start by commending you both for this exceptional program. I think it's a chart breaker. It's a groundbreaker. It's a trailblazer in terms of literary financial information. And I think that the fact that you have had this program for so long, it's survived for this long, with so many great guests sharing information. I am humbled and I commend you highly for the work that you're doing.
Oh, you made our afternoon, Jacqui. Thank you so much.
You made my day, Jacqui.
Yes.
Oh, I am just so, I'm seeing myself beaming from ear to ear, and I'm just so very thrilled and happy. And I'm going back into the years, and I'm remembering when we were in second form, third form, fourth form.
Yes,
and we really had a lot of fun. And I'm just so pleased, Jacqui. I mean, I'm hearing
Yes.
you say, giving us kudos, but I am just so honored that you are here because you're trailblazer, and you have been for quite a long time, even
Thank
back in the
you.
ABS days.
Yes.
So I'm thrilled. I am not gonna stop grinning. So y'all gonna have to excuse me today.
Thank you so much, Megan. But I mean, those days in high school, I think those days actually laid the foundation. Because really and truly, when I look back at my high school days, in leadership was thrust on me. I mean, monitor, prefect, head
Yes.
girl. I mean,
Yes.
and people looked up to me. I was thinking about it
Yes.
over the weekend, and I said to myself, this for a long time, people just say, "Go Jacqui,
True.
go
That's
Jacqui,
true.
go Jacqui," and they saw the potential in me, and so those high school
We
years
surely did.
would have shaped my, leadership acumen, would have shaped my passion to help people and to speak up on behalf of people, because that was one of the things too, with debate and all those things that we did in high school. Those things helped to
Yes.
shape
Oh yes. Oh
your
yes.
path towards, having the gift of the gab, having, always they're championing some cause at high school. And when I went on to
Yeah.
university, the same thing.
Yes.
I was always out front leading persons in
You were.
university,
Mm-hmm.
leading
Absolutely.
persons on campus. So it's been a great run in terms of that foundation at secondary level, the university level, and certainly interacting with you and Dewey at church. Y'all remember
Yes.
camp?
Of
I
course.
don't
Of
remember
course.
Of
that.
course.
Of course. How could
Of
we forget that? I
course.
mean,
Church
we
and
really
camp.
had a rich. We didn't know it at the time.
Yes.
It may not have been the most popular position being
Yes.
church girls. We all know that.
Mhm.
But I look back at my childhood. And of course, it's your childhood when you're growing up. You don't know any different. I wouldn't even ask you, Jacqui. A lot of people would say, "Did you ever see politics in the cards?" And of course not. When
No,
you're,
we didn't.
I mean, I would imagine you didn't, because for all
No.
of us, it was just about having fun, living another day, trying to cope. If you're not in the in crowd, how you can perhaps maybe move closer to the in crowd,
Yes.
and just having fun. But I look back very fondly at our childhood, and I think yours was very similar to ours.
Yes.
Growing up in a house with school teachers, education was, a given. There was no ifs, ands, and buts about whether you're going to
And
college.
church.
I don't even know if we knew. Of course, the resources were not there as they are today, where we could make plans definitively. But I think the kind of upbringing that we had, we had parents who toiled and served and made their contributions, and it was very obvious that they were laying the foundation for us to carry the mantle after them.
That's
And
right.
without even knowing
So
what that
true.
meant, we just fell in line.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, you don't think
true.
about it
So true.
as you're growing. You really don't think about you might think, okay, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be this or that. But you never really think, am I going to be the first person to enter parliament, or am I going to be the first director of tourism, female director of tourism? You don't think about that. Because when you're living through history, you're not really thinking about the impact that you're making.
Yes.
But as you said, that foundation laid by
So true.
our parents, that strong foundation, that education was important. um, Manners and
Yeah.
respect take you through the world, and
Absolutely.
having empathy and compassion for people, because I think that's really one of the key qualities of a great leader, that you must be the voice
Yeah.
of your constituents, you must be the voice of the voiceless, and you must have compassion for people and be sensitive to their needs. And these are things that, growing up in my home, and certainly with Brother Samuel and Sister Mary, that we that was a foundation that was set for us.
Absolutely. And with your father, I
Absolutely.
always say,
Yep.
again, I don't know if you remember, I always say, Brother Quinn, I think Paul is a lot like him. Paul was my good friend. But brother, I remember one time, I don't know if you remember, Megan, we went to Quarterly, and Mommy said to Pastor Quinn, she might have talked with him, so she had a special relationship with him. Pastor Quinn, did you meet my daughters? And he said, no. And she called us over to introduce us to him. He was like, oh my God, you guys are beautiful. Oh my God, these are your daughters. You're beautiful.
I know, I don't remember that. Oh man.
Listen, but I was like, I always had a poem.
You know, I can hardly remember them
your
things.
father gave me such a great sense of self-esteem.
Yes,
And
yes.
anytime he ran in, I guess he marked my face, and anytime we ran into him, I personally ran into him after that. Oh my God, Charles West's daughter, you're beautiful. So I was like, wow, he knew.
That's him.
Oh,
He was
that's
smooth
nice.
and
Confidence
suave.
that, as a child, most most people in our parents' generation, it was more how bright you were, how smart you go up and you say a poem or you speak or something to that effect. You would definitely get the kudos for that, but to your physical, attributes,
didn't
you
get
never
that.
commented on.
That was
Yeah.
not.
And
Yes.
at our age,
Yeah.
you just never even thought about it, but that did something for my self-esteem. He really caught me off guard first, but then I was like, wow, that's so unusual. But he was, I have fond memories of him with the few interactions that we had. And of course, Jacqui, another attribute that I think that we may have gleaned from our environment is confidence. When you look back at some of the things that we did that other families might not have been so apt to do. Well, first of all, you had a large family and you were in the middle. So I'm sure and the first girl after about 3 boys, you probably had to fight to establish yourself and your boys.
But you see, the thing about it, Reed, is that yes, we grew up in a large family. But growing up in the church as well,
What scripture at some point,
yes, scripture, you had to pray. So all of that was training ground, That was training ground.
Absolutely.
Because if you made a mistake in your recitation,
that was a federal crime.
You had to go home.
She bust.
You're gonna be punished. And as we grew older, you get maybe 3 verses when you're 5, 6, and then as you grow older, you get 10 verses and 12 and so on and so forth. And sometimes you have to read an entire scripture, an entire chapter. You have to learn it and be able to do choral speaking and present and so on. So all of that was training ground. And my mom, as an author, we were inundated with books. We were surrounded by books. So if we didn't like reading, we had books to contend with.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. And then she was always writing. And in her later years, she was not familiar with the computer, with new technology and so on. So some of us as children had to type her work. She would have these yellow notepads of reams and reams of poems and stories and plays, because she used to do puppetry and plays and so on. And we had to type her. All of that was training ground.
Absolutely. Rich training ground, I might add.
Exceptionally rich training ground.
Yeah. No, this is wonderful. But touching a bit more on growing up in a large family, that too, I believe, your family was a little larger than mine. But there's something about having siblings, and it's good because you always have companionship. But at the same time, you always have a built-in audience as well as modulator regulator of me, because I used to get plenty grinding. I was the, but see,
I think we all are.
Yeah, I think it's something that comes with large families. My family was exceptional, but in my family, if you passed the internal test with the grinding, you were set for life.
That's
because
right.
what you dealt with internally prepared you. It was nothing compared. I mean, what you
what you're going to find outside.
Exactly.
Yes.
So Calvin always says to me that he reminds me of some things that I said, and I said, oh my gosh, I actually said that. But at the time, it wasn't coming from a standpoint of trying to be mean. I think I was misunderstood. I was a comedian. I could make a joke out of anything.
I remember that. I remember that about you at high school. Yeah. I do.
No, seriously, I could make.
She was a tease. Oh my gosh.
Not a mean bone in my body, but I just could turn.
There was a wittiness about you. There was just this humor, this wit, just always under the surface. I mean, I remember that. You were a little ahead of us, Megan. Megan and I were
right.
You were a little ahead of us. You were with Wayna and Rupert and all those girls and so on. And I remember that about you.
No, I was a prankster, joker.
And that little sarcasm. I loved it.
I just like to have fun.
Oh yeah.
It may have been some off-color jokes, Yes. I might have been a Steve Harvey ahead of my
that
time.
That helped me. That toughened me up.
Okay. Yeah, but we are a family of 8, and so I had 3 brothers, and my parents tell me that they prayed and prayed and prayed for a girl.
Oh wow!
And so they had the first Paul, and then John, and then Philip, and then I came along, so I was the first girl. And then there were others behind me. Now, the thing about being the first girl is that, again, I think it was preparation for my leadership role. I had to wash. It was a day and age when I had to press my brother's and my father's clothes.
Wow.
I had to, I had to do all of the house, the housework. So I was immersed in chores, right? But I also participated in many of the activities that my older brothers were involved in. So I would go out and I would run behind them, playing football, riding their bikes, and up and down, really having fun. And, one of the things I was reflecting, and at Christmas time, all of us gathered and we were reflecting. We came out of a family where we were in church almost every Sunday, weekdays for testimony meeting, youth meeting, prayer meeting. And you know what our main game playing together was? Church.
Oh,
we
wow.
used to recreate church. So we would have a pastor, we would have a Sunday school teacher.
Oh.
The very thing.
That is hilarious.
So all of that was training ground. And so you see that almost all of my siblings, either in teaching, in some speaking role, in some leadership role.
The confidence was there.
Yeah. It was.
That is very interesting.
Yes, a great incubator for us.
Megan, did we ever play church?
Lovely. Nope. I can say that emphatically. Nope.
I don't think church ever came up.
No, we were playing.
We've had a lot of cricket and
Dolly
stuff.
House,
In terms
of course.
We played Dolly.
It was a lot of sports.
Maybe shop. Maybe we played more shop.
Yeah, maybe shop.
Shop
there were a lot of boys in our streets, so shop was good.
Yeah.
We liked shop.
That's interesting. We never played church. Never.
Played church. Never.
That's very interesting.
Maybe shop would have prepared you. Shop would have prepared you for this financial program.
Absolutely. Yes.
And your money management.
She
Oh
was
gosh,
just a
I guess I
bookworm.
was a bookworm. Bookworm. No, bookworm. And I kind of liked to be in charge of anything that was a part of all the children because I just figured I was the fairest person in the of the
Yes.
children. So I would be the one who would be fair
Dispense
in
justice.
whatever. Yes. I don't know if that was really true, but that was in my head.
Yes.
So if somebody gave us like a cake or something and it needed to be shared, I'll be the first one to say, I'll cut it up because I want to
Yes,
make sure
yes.
everybody gets. And always, that
Very
was
good.
always me.
Very good. Yes.
I know much to the chagrin of my siblings at times.
So Jacqui, let's move things
Oh my
along. That
God.
was a really good throwback to our
Yes. Yes.
childhood.
It was nice
Unanticipated
to
and out on the
reminisce.
agenda.
It was nice to reminisce.
Yes, yes, because we have such
Yes.
fond memories, and we now realize how blessed and special our
Yeah.
childhood was.
Yes,
And also to honor
absolutely.
our parents, the legacy of our parents,
Absolutely.
because I think we could not have.
And stability. We may not have been rich, but stability. We were rich in spirit.
Yeah, rich in character, rich
Yep,
in
yep.
values. Yeah, yes.
And I
Great.
think we've
So
made
let's
our
move
parents
it on
proud.
a bit.
have.
We have Jackie's childhood on lock, and very, very, very dynamic. Lots of interesting examples of the cues that are taking her towards leadership. So let's move on to, we finished high school. What happened after you graduated Antigua Girls High School?
Well, after high school, I went to the State College, and there again at State College, I did the A-level department. I represented Antigua for Leeward Islands. You would know Leeward Islands debate. That was a big thing back then. I think it still is. I think it still is. On two occasions, I
Yes.
represented Antigua in the Leeward Islands debate. And again, that was training ground for my speaking up for constituents across Antigua and Barbuda. Then I went to ABS right after State College. I worked at ABS, anchoring the news, doing talk shows. In fact, I was telling a young person who didn't know at all about feedback and justice and some of the talk shows that started, that it was ABS and Jacqui Quinn, the first. Yes, it was called Feedback at the time, and we
Oh,
both
just know that. Oh, didn't remember.
yes, we both co-hosted. And I also started a program called Justice, which had a live audience. It was the first. I sort of mimicked, tried to emulate Oprah.
I was
Tried
about to
do
say,
an Oprah
that was
style.
Oprah's period.
Yes, that's right. And so justice was aimed at bringing information about legal issues, knowing our rights, justice, human rights, and that sort of thing to the Antiguan public. And we had a live audience, a live studio audience. So justice was another program that was groundbreaking. And then the other thing that is very similar to Voice of the People on Observer, which we used to do. We had a little program where we would go out in the streets and get people's ideas on whatever was au courant at the time. And that was a vox pop. So whatever the topic was, gas prices, we would go out and we would have all a string of
I remember that.
just giving their ideas on that. I'm trying to remember the actual name of the program, but that vox pop I also did. But my years in broadcasting, I spent quite a number of years in broadcasting, rose to head of current affairs, mostly news. I liked hard news. I liked to cover Parliament. This is probably where I was
Wow.
first introduced. Yes, I was first introduced to Parliament, so I covered V.C. Byrd, the father of the nation.
But Jacqui, let me ask you one question really quickly. Did you ever, when you're covering Parliament, kind of say to yourself, "Wow, I can do this"?
Never.
Never.
I never thought of it. I never thought of it. You know, when I left State College and I started doing broadcasting and doing the news, I always wanted to be a lawyer. My goal was to become a lawyer because I felt that I could be a good advocate. I thought that, you know, I had an analytical mind, I had a logical mind, and once I, you know, was immersed in legal precedent and so on, I'd be able to represent people in court. But guess what happened? When I left State College, the University of the West Indies had a requirement for history, and you had to have a certain pass at history to be enrolled in the legal faculty. And my grade in history was not, was below the grade. So I couldn't get into the law department, the legal department. And so I went into broadcasting, and I went to Carimac, as you know. I did my degree in mass media and communications, did first the diploma and then the degree program, and had a great, I mean, I can't, my years in broadcasting were my best years. A great time covering CARICOM summits, going all over the world, covering for the Caribbean Sea. What's it now? Not CARICOM. Oh dear, I'm trying to remember. CBU, the Caribbean Broadcasting Union, which was a union of all of the television stations across the region. And they used to do joint coverage. Met so many of the great leaders, and fell in love with people like and emulated people like Dame Eugenia Charles. Dame Eugenia Charles was a great role model for me. I mean, young people may not know of these icons, and I call them icons, legends. Janet Jagan in Guyana. You know, when I look back at Trinidad, Kamla Prasad Bissessa. She would have been later on in my career. But people like Dame Eugenia, like Margaret Thatcher, like Benazir Bhutto them. I looked up to them. I saw them as strong, resilient, courageous women who were going out there, charting the course and shattering those glass ceilings. And so they had a great impact on me. And even as I covered them as a journalist, I never in my wildest dream thought that, hey, one day you're going to be elected and one day you're going to act as prime minister. I mean, it was only acting in the time.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the path was being carved. You probably just didn't know how to read maps. But I thought from everything you're telling me, Jacqui,
it was there. It was there.
You either couldn't read tea leaves.
Yeah.
You didn't read the maps, but you know, I think one of the challenges that you know, with our generation, we were confident. Maybe it's a good thing. We were confident. We were smart enough to stay on track.
Yeah.
With the path that was laid out for us. I think what was missing is, because you tell this story to anyone, and they're like, how did she not know she was going to end up with all of these influences and role models and the things that interested you? Half of the people you're calling, they're vague in my memory. Of course, I remember who Dame Eugenia Charles was and what have you, but clearly you had an affinity and attraction more so than the average woman. and having the opportunity as a broadcaster to actually interact and to be in the circle. Clearly,
Yes.
you know, your path took a special kind of route, more so than the average young woman your age. So
Oh, yes.
I think what it was, though, we could not see the possibilities when you grow up in an environment like ours. You know, the glass ceiling was so thick,
Yeah.
and so opaque, and so
As
real.
someone said to me, we don't have a glass ceiling, we have a concrete ceiling.
Oh my
Mm.
goodness.
It's so, yeah, and I
And
thought
I
that was
wouldn't
such
say
a
ours
good.
was concrete. I wouldn't say ours was concrete. You could probably you knew maybe in theory that it could be penetrated,
Mhm.
but it had never been done. So why would you even think
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
you stood a chance? So I think it's so key that, especially for our young women today, that there are as many programs as possible with mentorship and just you know, making yourself available as you are now, Jacqui, to tell your story so that some young person can put their potential into context.
Yes.
You know, you have all these ideas and aspirations, but how are they channeled? How do you find a way to really, how can you be a female politician if you've never met one?
Yes. But you see, I think the just breaking in and stepping up to the plate, that is what I think. And you see, you mentioned the term confidence more than once in this show. I think that is what a lot of us as women need. Because
Absolutely.
what has happened when we look at the theme of breaking the bias, what has happened is that through history, throughout patriarchy, and through that traditionalist view that we have of legal services that act from, a lot of us have bought into that bias. We have bought into that prejudicial thinking that somehow we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, that we're too soft, and you know we can't take the blows, so we must stay out of the kitchen because we are too soft for this kind of thing. But the point is, if we're going to break that bias, we as women, we have to step up boldly to the plate. We have to say, I own this stage just like any other man. Don't just slink into the shadows or fade into the woodwork and become that woman behind or that woman beside. We can be that woman in front, leading,
Absolutely.
just like any man, because we have the potential, we have the same competence, we have good experience, we have qualifications, and sometimes, guess what? We women are overqualified.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
In our fields, and we have to do twice as much or three times as much as the man to be able to get to the table and to walk the corridors of power. But what I say to young women, don't slink into the shadows. Walk in boldly into the room, because you have what it takes.
Absolutely.
To be a leader, to be an MP, to be a financial, the CEO of a financial conglomerate, to be a partner, lead partner in a legal firm. Walk in boldly. You have what it takes. And one of the things that I always say to people in 2004 when I was elected, the people of St. George, they were yearning for leadership. They didn't care whether that leader was wearing a pants or wearing a skirt. They wanted somebody to represent them, to be their voice. They wanted somebody to articulate their concerns in Parliament. And that's what they did in 2004.
Excellent.
Quickly, Jacqui, because I mean, this is and you know, I hope the book you know, you come from a writing family. I hope the book has started.
Yes, I did start. I have started it, and I'm stalled a little, but it will.
No, it's a process, and the story is still being written. But you know, there's so many facets to your life that, I can see that the book, the movie, the docu-series,
The sequel.
There's so many lessons to be
Lots,
learned here, and
Because I haven't
stories to be
I
shared.
haven't even started talking to you about my journey with breast cancer.
I was
This-
thinking about that.
I-
I was
yes,
thinking about that.
and I wondered whether you wanted to
definitely have
speak
to bring
about
you
that.
back to talk about that when
Yeah.
we
This
do
year
a
is my
feature on
10th
that, because I probably don't even.
2022
Hence?
What's
is
that?
my 10th anniversary as a survivor.
Are you kidding?
Oh, wow.
Oh, congratulations,
Wow.
Jacqui.
Yes.
Congrats,
Oh, my
Jacqui.
goodness.
I was diagnosed in 2012, November 2012.
Wow.
Isn't it amazing that 2012, that was just yesterday, is 10 years ago?
Can you believe that?
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Kudos to you,
Yes.
Jacqui.
So we can talk about that on another show.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. I would
Yes.
love to, because
Oh,
I probably don't even know the
absolutely.
stories. But Jacqui, quickly, tell
Wow.
us about your time as a minister of government, an elected member of parliament. I'm sure that too is another episode. But quickly tell us, what would you say is your most memorable event, time period, while you served in that capacity?
I've had so many memorable occasions that I mean,
Hold for
I
one
can-
second.
I
You
can
were
recall-
Minister of Labor.
I
Let's
was
just
Minister of
recap.
Labor in the first term.
Yes.
Minister of Labor, Public Administration and Empowerment, which included gender affairs. And then in 2009, I was Minister of Education, Sports and Youth Affairs.
Okay.
But I think the very first time that Baldwin Spencer called me and said, Jacqui, I'm traveling. I think he was going to the UN, to the United Nations. I'm traveling. I'll be out of the country for, I think it was 4 days. I mean, that's a short time, 4 days. And I'd like you to act. I'm giving you the reins. I'd like you to act as Prime Minister. And
I remember.
I was blown away because I'm saying, sir, you have all these other men in cabinet who you could call upon to act as Prime Minister. He said, Jacqui, I am leaving the country in your hands. You are my acting Prime
How
Minister.
wonderful.
And it was a humbling moment. I felt the weight of the country on my shoulders for those 4 days. I felt a sense of responsibility, but I felt honored as well that he would have looked beyond gender and decided you are the most competent person. And after that, I think it might have been about 13 or so other occasions. It might be 2 days, it might have been a day. The most longest look, this is somebody who's responsible. This
Yes.
is somebody who was a solid leader, somebody who he could close his eyes, walk away from Antigua, and leave the reins in my hands. And so I felt very, very, very honored by that. And that's a memorable occasion. I don't know. When we introduced universal secondary education into Antigua in 2013, that too was a very powerful time for me. We opened 3 new secondary schools, the Irene B. Williams Secondary School, the Glanville Secondary, and the St. Mary's Secondary Schools. So a lot of people don't know, UPP introduced those 3 new secondary schools during our administration. That was very important for me because it meant leveling the playing field for all children to have access to a secondary.
In a measurable way.
Yes, yes.
You know?
And the construction of the Five Islands Secondary, which now we know is the University of the West Indies, Five Islands campus, that too was a very powerful time for me, having all of the plans. We did the groundbreaking and seeing that building rise up from the ground. And now is the University of the West Indies, Five Islands. I am honored to have been a part
As you should be.
of that. And now I'm a lecturer
Exactly.
at that university.
Life has a way of coming full circle. I'm
Wow.
telling you.
Full circle.
If you
Full
sit down
circle.
and try to figure out life, you see, and try to, even look at any patterns or any analysis, you're wasting your time. I have come to realize, and Megan will tell you, my life especially takes some kind of crisscross roundabout,
Yes,
up
yes.
and down story. You
Up
listen,
and down. Oh, yeah.
you just let life and let God take control,
Because remember,
I enjoy the
Louise,
ride.
enjoy the ride. Remember,
Yes.
I told you that my first love was law. I wanted to be a lawyer,
Mhm.
and look how life has brought things.
Yeah, your
right.
daughter's a lawyer.
My daughter is now a lawyer, and I live
Yeah.
vicariously through her.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
every time I see her put up her robe
yes,
and her tab, and she goes to court, I live vicariously through her. And I'm
yes.
saying,
That's
this was
awesome.
supposed to be- This was supposed to be my career. Look at
Yeah,
this. You know,
yeah. I keep saying, we can't pick our blessings.
that's right.
That's not our role. You just let it happen. But when it
Mhm.
happens, acknowledge it, be thankful.
Yes.
There are times when I see
Yeah.
some things
Gratitude.
that happen. You say, dear God, if I was in control, there's no
Yeah.
way my mind could stretch
Yeah.
in these
Yep.
directions to even process some of these some of these issues. So Jacqui, you are now a private citizen after spending 10 years in office, and has met with
Actually,
many
12.
politicians. You
12
have
years.
to,
12.
you're no
12
longer in
years.
office. You have to restructure your life, reinvent yourself. You're at a different stage with children, family. Tell us about that.
Grandchildren, child, at
Grand.
least.
That's
Grand.
right. Congratulations. Yes.
Yes, come on. Glamour is right here.
And maybe when we start talking about her second grandchild, maybe we'll have a collective conversation. Hint, hint.
No, don't tell Megan about
Let's-
that side yet.
Oh, Megan knows the story, man.
Oh, okay.
Our family? No. We don't have privacy. We don't have privacy like that. Oh no. We have a public stage. Jacqui, if you grew up with us, right?
I'm
Our
sure
family is the
I'm sure
most
Jackie's background is similar
hilarious.
too.
We
Yes,
say
yes, yes.
anything, everything is public. We are hilarious. We crack jokes on everything. Nothing
Oh yeah, you gotta be
goes
tough.
on.
You gotta be
In
tough
public, we
in
may
our
come
family.
across a little muted and demure, but
Yes.
girl,
Oh,
joke
no.
from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Nothing is left out. But let's talk a bit about life after being in public office, that wild ride, interesting ride. You're now a private citizen. Lucky for you, you have great skills
Yes.
and a multiplicity of experiences that you can harness. So let's talk about that. And of course, we want to hear about the financial aspect of it. You're now an entrepreneur, self-employed, all of these skills. You now have the daunting, but at least exciting task of reinventing yourself and creating a livelihood that's built on the pillars and the solid pillars that you've managed to construct throughout your life. Let's talk about that a bit.
Okay. So you did say 10 years, but I did 10 years as an MP and then 2 years as a senator. So while we were
Oh,
in
that's
office-
right. That's
Yes,
right.
I did.
Yes.
I forgot it.
Yes.
So when
Yes.
were you a senator? You were a senator after?
Right after we lost the election in 2014.
Yes. I remember
So
that.
how could you only served for
was
2
leader.
years?
Yes, for 2
Okay.
years. Yeah. So I was the leader of government business in the Senate.
Mhm.
Okay.
I
Oh,
remember
sorry,
that.
not government business, opposition.
Opposition
yes,
business in the
yes, I
Senate.
remember
Okay.
that. Mhm.
All right. So what you know about Jade Communications? And
Mhm.
Jade Communications is really a professional development organization. So we do a lot of work in consulting, in HR, in corporate communications. We do professional development training. A lot of our work is in professional development training. So the hotels, businesses would call upon us to do customer service training, performance management, supervisory management, a whole range of corporate training products which we offer to the Antiguan and Barbudan public. We also do recruitment services. So you need a secretary, you need a chef. Jade Communications would find that person for you, shortlist that person, do the interviews, and send you 2 or 3 possible candidates. In addition to Jade Communications, I also lecture at the University of the West Indies, 5 Islands, and the University of the West Indies Open Campus. So I teach 3 courses at the Open Campus: effective management and leadership, public speaking and the presentation skills, and business communications. At 5 Islands campus, I teach marketing management, integrated marketing communications, and business communications. So I do a lot of my days are spent.
Sounds heavy.
Teaching, either lecturing in my own Jade Communications, doing professional development training, or teaching at the university. And apart from that as well, just in 2021, I was engaged by the Elite Island Resorts to be their trainer. So I do, so I'm a consultant. Whoa. I do training for all of the properties owned by Elite Island. That's not St. James's Club, Pineapple, Veranda, the new
Galley Bay.
Galley Bay, and
Hammock Cove.
Hammock Cove. I haven't done any work with Hammock Cove yet, but all the other properties. So I do the orientation and I do the training for all of the staff at those properties. So it's been a full circle in terms of, I come out of a family of teachers. My father was a teacher before he became a pastor. And so a lot of what I do now is teaching, molding, mentoring people. I enjoy it a lot. It's certainly not as hectic, not as fast-paced as politics, because with my bout with breast cancer, one of the reasons why I retired from politics is because of the stress of the political arena. Cancer feeds on stress. And so my doctor said, hey, you got to turn it down a notch. You have to de-stress. And so I find it so fulfilling now to be helping people, holding minds, mentoring and shaping people in all of the spheres that I am currently in. And Megan, managing your own business, I wish I had you to help me to shape my budget, to help me to be able to manage my monetary affairs, because really and truly, you might think that I'm accomplished in all sorts of different spheres, but financial literacy, I am a total novice.
And that's one of the things that came up at our last Likkle Byte Ideas when we were speaking with Dr. Bird, and making the point that at schools, financial literacy is not taught.
At all.
Running a business is not taught.
At all.
But you're expected as a lawyer, as a doctor, as a consultant, to be able to run your business and the finance part of it, but never really had the teaching. Yeah.
And part of what I do consulting, and people feel that you can just give away your services. People, they come to you for ideas, and they don't realize that, hey, this is what I do.
This is what you sell.
Communications.
It's a difference. I find it's a difference if you have a product, a physical thing that they can see, versus a service. Somehow people don't recognize the value of a service.
And maybe that needs to be put out there, Megan, that you should be able to tabulate, to put a dollar figure on services that people offer.
So I think too, Jacqui, because I am more in your realm with the marketing, I think our people, I don't think it's just our people. Marketing is one of those fields that everybody is intrigued by it,
Yeah.
but not everyone
Wants to pay for it.
understands the value of it. So they think they're just picking your brain.
Yeah.
Jacqui, I have an idea. Well, that's what I sell. I sell, my services have a value because even if you come with the idea, I'm helping you to mold
And shape it.
that idea and put it
Exactly.
into a marketable context. So
Yeah.
you think I had a big issue with someone that I dated who is, an attorney. Everybody knows what an attorney does.
Yes.
An attorney gets paid for A, B, C, D.
Yes.
And he knows what he gets paid for all these services. But for a marketer, because it is not clearly defined what we do,
Yes.
and we don't put it into the same kind of structured kind of context, but you pay for this, for that, the other. In picking my brain, he thinks it's a conversation where you're tapping into my intellectual property.
Yeah.
So it's something that marketers and project managers and what have you deal with all the time, because it's so lifestyle oriented. So people think they're having a conversation with you, and I just asked your idea. Well, that is what we sell. And so even for me, I do a lot of consulting. I'm forced a lot to document conversations, interactions, because if you don't, people just assume that brilliant idea that you came up with, she just smart. No, that's what I do.
And that's what you sell.
So it's something that consultants deal with a lot. Also, the value of your time. They don't know, because we spoke about it yesterday, and I'm coming with you with a document tomorrow. You probably just think I went on my computer and it took me 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It might have taken me 4 hours to put it together, and I may have had to send it out to a vendor to have it programmed or a graphic created or something to make it extra special. But because I think that's the challenge sometimes, they have no full appreciation for the amount of work, the hours, and the expertise that it takes to take a concept to reality. So I can relate to you when it comes to that side of the business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But kudos to you, Jacqui, from going from a politician to now an entrepreneur.
Yes.
I mean, it's a different skill set altogether, right?
Absolutely. But at the same time, no, I think what it is, how do you filter? Because Jacqui's come with skill sets this big.
Yes.
How do you put that through a filter and process, and develop it into a product that's marketable and commands respect? So
and how do you
really admire,
because
how you go from this
still away, and that's the expectation. And how do you move from that to still helping people, as Dewey says, bringing it in and then pricing it?
Yeah. And I think
compensated for it at a reasonable rate.
Yeah. And I think that's the challenge for consultants, and particularly in my field, because as you said, Megan, in politics, you're really helping people, mentoring people, coaching people, and assisting them to get jobs and lands and house and scholarships and all the different things. No, as a consultant, you're doing it as a job, and so people expect, a lot of constituents still expect that, okay, I mean, I can still come to Jacqui and expect A, B, C, D, E, and not be charged for it. And so that is the difficulty. And perhaps coming from the political arena, with my contacts, with the kind of network that I was able to create, and the kind of network that I was able to be a part
And that
of.
has a lot of value.
It has a lot of value. So
You can pick up the phone and call somebody who wouldn't
absolutely.
take my call, you know?
So in a way, it has its pros and its cons. I get my foot is in the door, so I can call on any CEO, and I can, this is Jacqui Quinn on the phone, and they'll pick up the phone, and I can offer them whatever product or service that I am offering at the moment. So you get your foot in the door. But I've had a challenge, Megan, with but I do a lot of work with government, for instance, and I have government departments. I do training. I do some professional development training, and I'm not paid. I'm not paid.
When you say you're not paid,
Not
you
paid.
mean
So you send in your invoice, and
Oh,
you wait and you wait
it's not
and you
being
wait
honored.
and you
Okay.
wait and you wait for that payment. Of course, that is probably an occupational hazard, because government tends to take a long time to pay. But of course, it's still there. But people take, particularly government, they take your service for granted as well. Even though they accept, okay, yes, Jacqui, we want you to come in and do all of this work, training the department and doing all of this. But then when it comes to the dollars, Megan, you have to wait. You have to wait a
Yeah.
long time to be paid. Megan, your sound is gone.
I realize that. You might have to find some innovative ways. Perhaps there's a 50% upfront payment, so at least you get something while you wait for the other part. It's a tough road, really
Yeah.
is, as entrepreneurs, especially when you're doing a service, whatever the service is, because it's just harder. And then if you throw in the mix government,
Because it's not
oh
tangible.
my,
It's not something that's
exactly,
tangible.
it's not
really.
tangible.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the mix government, then that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying
Which is
it.
great.
Well, we can tell you're
Yes.
bubbly. You're
Yes.
you're
It
really
shows. It shows.
Yeah, it shows. It shows that you're having a lot of fun, and
And that's
I can tell you
important.
enjoy the creativity.
Yeah.
And you are. There's nothing like being your own boss. Of course, there's nothing like being your own boss with the challenges that you face. But then with the, we talk a lot about financial freedom and the ability to take charge of your life and kind of set goals, and have the total control of how you go about it.
Yeah.
So as opposed to working for a government, an organization, maybe even a partnership, where you have to rely on others and their input and their opinions in terms of where things can go. When you're self-employed, it's challenging, because we all need a sounding board from time to time. But the reality is, it gives you a sense of freedom, that you are charting your own course, making the sacrifices on your own, and of course, reaping the rewards on your own. So it sounds like you're in a very good place, Jacqui. So what's next? What can we look forward to as we all move into the, another stage of our life, where we're retirement is not that far away, or at least the legal age of retirement. What's in your future? Not that you've ever had the ability, because I don't think even when you were in government that you could have seen this part of your life.
Yes.
When you were in government, did you even think about, if I leave government, what am I going to do? Probably never.
No, well, I knew that I always wanted to be a lecturer, because
Okay.
when I left McGill after doing my PhD, I wanted to go, and I was being offered positions at Mona to come back and teach, even at McGill. But of course, politics took me into public service, and Bob Spencer encouraged me to come back, and I went into the political arena. So I knew that later on I would get back into university life and
Nice.
to lecturing, because it's something that I really, really enjoy. I'm actually enjoying teaching and helping to shape our future leaders. But in terms of going forward, during the COVID lockdown, I started going back into broadcasting. So if you look at my Facebook page, for instance, I do a lot of breaking news. I
Yes,
do
I've seen it. I really enjoy it. One would pro.
yeah. So I do a lot of, I go back into broadcasting. I like to do features. I do sit down interviews. I particularly like the live broadcasts because right away, people can get a snapshot of what is happening in Antigua. And I'm just playing around with it. I started out as breaking news and then moved into broadcast news network. So eventually I see myself going back into broadcasting in some big way, probably merging Jade Communications into a television station, perhaps, if I can get an investor to invest.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Sounds good.
With technology these days, I mean, that whole industry has been transformed. I mean,
Yes.
even at your ABS days, could you imagine that on your own, you could go out without the ABS truck and camera and do your own thing and be live and have
Just
your
with
own voice and followers
myself.
and everything?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But
So
That
Jackie,
sounds interesting, Jackie.
yes.
Looking forward to that TV station.
yeah, it can happen. It can happen.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Jackie, before we end, and oh my goodness,
The
this
time.
interview has gone way beyond
What
what
is
we
it so
imagined.
fun?
I'm
But
so
there's
sorry.
no limit.
Oh, no, it's been great.
There's no limit to good conversation, reconnections.
Yes.
The good thing is we are our own bosses. We have our own freedom. We decide how long this show goes,
That's right.
as
That's the good
opposed
thing.
to how things were done back in the day when you have your producer flagging
Yes.
you
And they
down.
cut you off.
We're our own producers, everything.
Yes. Very good.
But this show is about ideas.
Yes.
And so we always end the show by asking our guest to share with us their little idea. We have had some amazing,
Amazing.
I mean, things that just blew my mind, things I would have never thought about. Just a little idea that somebody has been nesting on, that they appreciate the opportunity to share it, and however far along it is in its development. So we'd be delighted, we'd be honored if you could share with us one little idea on any issue.
Okay. So we've just come out of the budget period, and I wanted to keep it financial. And this is not necessarily my own idea, my own original idea, because I walk every morning, every weekday morning, and very early in the morning. And one of my early morning walkers stopped me and he said to me, Jackie, we've just heard the budget presentation, and a lot of people don't understand what is a budget. A lot of people don't understand some of the terms that are used in the budget. Revenues and expenditure and GDP and GNP and so on. How can you share some of that on your Facebook page? So when Megan told me about these little bite ideas, I said, why don't Samuel Fields Consulting in the month of March, or maybe at the start of the year in January, do a program prior to the budget calling it find very man it with that gentleman who
Love it.
calls in the morning.
I love it.
So all of those fancy terms that we hear, the jargon that's used.
And put a glossary together,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love,
So
love,
Megan,
love,
you're
love.
the
I
financial
love it.
whiz.
I love it.
I'm
I
throwing it
love
in
it.
your lap.
Love it.
At the start of the year in January, you
yes.
do this program, a month program, just prior to the budget presentation, simplifying the budget for the ordinary man and woman.
But you know what,
Love
Jackie?
it.
I want to add to that idea, and I love it.
Mhm.
I think, well, first of all, April is
Yeah.
Financial Literacy Month.
Oh,
So it's
great.
not too late to do it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? Because I think from the marketing side and process and project and what have you, I think it might be a bit daunting for people to perhaps listen to the jargon and simultaneously process it.
Oh.
Maybe what we do is prepare them ahead of time,
Yes.
or even maybe dissect the budget, because it's now in the media. The salient points may have seeped out.
Yeah.
Really like
To,
that.
you know what the issues are. Here is the jargon. Here are the tools you need to go back to the budget to
Yeah.
dissect it. That's a possibility that I'm
Yeah.
looking at.
Because
Or
what I
even do
think
a bit of
this
the
gentleman
dissection
wanted,
on the show.
yes,
Yeah,
what
of
I
course,
think
of course.
he wanted was a non-partisan. This is not to discuss
Oh, absolutely
Yes.
not.
Yes.
projects and programs and who
Yes.
failed and who spent and
Yes.
No, not at all.
stealing money. None of that. What you're trying to do is to educate people as to what does it mean when the government says these are the revenues, $1 billion in revenue.
Mhm.
What does it mean when you say you have a deficit? A lot of us
I
don't
love
understand
it.
what that means.
Yes.
How do you spend money for bringing down debt? How do you raise money at inland
Oh my
revenue?
gosh.
All of that. I
Oh
think
my
a lot
gosh.
of people
We will
Jackie?
do a show, Jackie, if you promise to
Jackie?
come back.
Please.
Finance? No.
Well, no, but
No, just to come back.
I could see it as a panel.
Oh,
I could
okay.
see it as a panel where there's
I like
someone
it.
who is hardcore with the jargon, but then someone also who interprets it from a, because I mean, for some of us,
Yeah.
it's a double whammy. I know when I worked for the government, I had a hard time. I worked in corporate all my life. What are you talking about? The language
Exactly.
is different.
That's the point I was going to make, because
So I think
that's
it
why I
needs
think it's
two
so,
sides.
yeah.
I
Because a
think you need
budget,
somebody from public
you're speaking
administration,
about,
and then you need somebody
Yeah.
who is a finance person
because
who
they're a
can
little
then do
different.
the actual unpacking of it. But then somebody has to put it into context, because even if you tell me about what the terms mean, I'm still in the cold because I don't understand how
Right.
government works that well.
That's right.
Because governmental accounting is a when I was doing accounting, that's a separate subject.
Yes.
When we say budget, the point to
Get on
we
April.
public, because we are the community learning partners. So
That's right.
we need
Yeah,
to do
so it's
that.
big. It's bigger than Likkle Byte Ideas. It needs to be
Yeah.
something that we and maybe invite some government, some people who
From the
are
Ministry of
veterans
Finance.
in this whole thing,
Mhm.
and get a nice panel together.
I think we're
That-
going to do it.
I would
Yes.
love to do it. I would love to do it.
I'd love to see you do it.
Yeah.
As I said, I don't take any credit. It's not my brainchild. It's my walking partner.
We'll still
Well,
give
thank
you the
you,
credit
walking
anyway,
partner.
because we would have never thought of it. We would have never thought. That is not on our radar at all.
Yeah, but that's a
Yeah.
great idea. We're gonna
That's
run
a
with that.
great idea. Well, listen, folks, this has been phenomenal. I keep saying
Phenomenal. Oh my
every week,
gosh.
the show keeps getting better.
Better and
I think
better.
what works great for us is that it's so organic. You know, we may have some areas that we know we want to cover, but we just let the conversation,
conversation.
the conversations flow.
Which is what I said to you, right, Jacqui? It's a
You did.
conversation.
This has
Yes,
been
I'm
phenomenal.
so sorry that I couldn't do it live on the Thursday afternoon because that's one of my classes.
Because I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions.
Oh yeah, but this is technology for you. We live in a technological age. And in the past where you could give people excuses, before you could tell people, I know even sometimes you tell people, I can't do such and such. Those days are gone. There's
Well, can you do it via Zoom?
There's always a way to work around. No, technology is amazing. And I think we are very lucky in that we grew up in an age where our parents were visionaries and were preparing us for whatever. I don't think they knew. But here we are living, the fruits of that vision, because here we are. At least we still have our mom around. Both your parents and our dad have passed on. But, I think we're all honored to be in a position where the preparation that they were making, all they were looking at was a better future for my children.
Yeah.
Right.
And they didn't know what that meant. Of course, we had no clue what that meant, but here we are all today, successful, upbeat.
And I think they're proud of us.
Oh,
yes.
absolutely.
Grateful and giving back, which is what we're all, this is all we know, giving back and being of service to people. This is how we were raised.
That's how we were raised.
That's how we were raised. And I think our parents would be very, very proud.
They are.
Nobody made it to the pulpit, but
of the three,
at least in our family.
What do you mean?
Yes, Calvin.
What you saying?
Calvin and my brother Barney.
Let me just stop.
Barney and Calvin.
Maybe none of the ladies made it to the pulpit.
None
That's
of
what
the
you want to
ladies.
say. But yeah.
None of the guy who, aside from Calvin, we have other pulpiteers.
Barney.
No, our side. I'm saying on
Oh.
Jackie's side.
Oh, your side. I see what you're saying. And then, of course, we're so happy to see that Pearl is following in your
Oh,
footsteps.
wow.
That is so. I mean,
My
I can
gosh.
see Pastor Quinn smiling from ear to ear. It's interesting.
Ability.
Yes.
Always.
It's about service. It's about
Always.
representing people and serving people.
Also resilience, Jacqui. When I hear you speak, that's what I hear. Resilience.
Yeah. So true.
Being able
So
to
true.
pivot, landing on your feet, even if you have to roll over a couple of times, landing on your feet and getting back up. And that's, that's how I see you. Somebody, aside from all of these great things you've done, I think the true measure of someone's greatness for me is not in the moment of greatness necessarily, but how you bounce back. How resilient are you?
The strength, the endurance, and the perseverance.
Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, this has been awesome.
This has been
Thank you
awesome.
so much,
So,
Jacqui.
we
Really
would love to
appreciate
have
you.
you back.
Yes.
Consider yourself a friend of the show.
Absolutely.
And maybe there are projects we can collaborate on. Maybe you need to
They
get
are.
Samuel Fields Consulting in
As she
early
spoke,
to help you
I thought
shape
of
your
some ideas.
contracts so
Okay.
that
You forget she has a lawyer?
she has a lawyer.
She has a lawyer.
She does have a
Her daughter
lawyer.
is a lawyer. Oh yeah. But no,
But I'm
I
thinking
get
more
some
than a
ideas.
lawyer. She needs.
But
But you are the financial whiz.
we're gonna bounce some ideas, Jacqui.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna bounce some ideas. We're gonna collaborate.
Absolutely.
Great.
Okay, great. And like I
much,
said, who
Jacqui.
knows? We may be family eventually. So
Yes.
Yeah, let's move on, ladies.
the older read is back.
Yes. We're out of
Well,
time.
folks, we have been talking to the indomitable, the strong, articulate,
One of a kind.
creative, and I can go on and on. Miss Jacqui Quinn Leandro, we've been honored to have this conversation. Jacqui, we continue to support you and in your future endeavors, and continue to be strong and be the role model that you have become.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you so much, Jacqui. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Do we still have anyone
That was
following us after that
awesome.
long conversation?
It's been great. It's been great. Oh my
Even though we
gosh.
heard it all before, we participated. It was really amazing. I
Right.
really enjoyed it. Do
I'm
we
just
have any
so
questions
sorry.
that we want to respond
Oh,
to?
we have lots of comments, not questions. But we have quite a few comments that
I
came
saw
in.
Julius James and Flavia
I'm going right back. You saw Flavia? I didn't see Flavia, but
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
was like church girls were in the house.
All right, so we had Edwards saying, I absolutely love this. We had Lorena Davis saying, keep up the amazing job, ladies. And she also said, an amazing woman indeed, Jacqui Quinn. Dotsie Isaac said, Jacqui Quinn. Loveliness Francis, interesting name, says, I love the confidence and foundation of excellence exuding from these ladies. SFCG said, OMG, another church girl. We had Kessel Lake saying, congratulations, Jacqui Quinn. Then we had Dr. Bird saying, don't sink into the room, ladies. Walk in boldly. And that's so true. Clement Samuel, our brother, says, good program. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Clement. Fanny King, a regular, says, great show as usual. Louise McKay Edwards says, good stuff. Loveliness Francis said, I'm interested in exporting local goods and produce. I also want to help train in the customer service field. Perhaps you can give us a call, Loveliness, and we can talk. Louise McKay Edwards says, I love the budget idea, and I really do hope persons heard the budget idea because we were a little choppy. But what Jacqui said was her recommendation or her idea was for us to put on a program where we dissect and make the budget a little bit more palatable and user-friendly for the audience. And both Jude and I, we love the idea, so we're definitely going to be jumping on that. And Dr. Bird again said, great show again, ladies. Congrats to Dr. Quinn and you all. Those were all the comments.
Thank you so much, Dr.
So
Bird.
I know it's been a long evening. You had a long one today, but it was awesome.
And of course, if you miss any aspects of it, we encourage you to go to our YouTube page, Samuel Fields Consulting. We have our own YouTube page, and every week, if you missed all or part of a broadcast, not to worry, you can go to our YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. Every time we post one, you will be notified. And we just want to thank all of you for hanging in here with us.
Yes.
It's been an amazing 4 weeks with 4 phenomenal women, very diverse backgrounds. And of course, if you know anything about Samuel Fields Consulting, we love to party. And virtual parties mean that you can multitask and still have fun. So we invite everyone. Meet you back here next Thursday at 5. We're going to have a female mixologist. We're going to have a female DJ. Megan, what's the name of our female DJ?
Our female DJ, her name is Damara, but she goes by Sister Soldier.
Sister Soldier. Yep, I've heard a lot about her.
And she's awesome.
If you were a part of our life conference, you know that a little music goes a long way when you're talking about money. So we're going to expand on that. We're also going to look at music that, highlights women as well.
Absolutely.
So luckily with our kind of party, you can multitask. You can watch it while you're making dinner.
Do your little jig.
Unwinding. So definitely, and we're going to play a couple of games, of course, all towards, improving our financial position, working on our money mindset, working on our lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So we want to thank our technicians. It was a first for us today, actually taping a broadcast and then doing a replay. And we apologize. We recognize that there was some choppiness with the transmission. We apologize. We did the best that we could, but hopefully you'll be able to go back. I'm not sure if the quality is going to be any better on YouTube, but in any case, we sincerely appreciate that you decided to hang in here with us and stick it out for the entire show. So, Megan, any last words before we hop off and let people get back to their busy lives?
Just to say thank you once again. It's been a real pleasure. This month has been really phenomenal, highlighting special women who are firsts in their own right. And it's really been a pleasure. I'm proud. I'm proud to be a woman, and I'm proud to be an Antiguan because we have some really strong Antiguan women. So that's it for today. Until we see you guys next week for some music, some fun.
And some more Likkle Byte ideas.
Absolutely.
We want to hear from you in the audience. We'll definitely have a section where we'll have you we'll probably bring a few people into the studio because we do have that ability. So come with your ideas. And next week we may, have people. It's not a huge studio, so we can't bring the whole show, but we'll bring a few people in to share their ideas and to join us and along with our mixologist and our DJ. So we're going to try to get the the menu or the ingredients for the mixology out early on social media so that you can, bring your ingredients and mix your drink with us, learn some techniques, and we can all toast together and toast to female empowerment and to a woman's money mindset. Absolutely. We're going to get it right, ladies. We're going to get it right. So listen, it's time for everyone to get back to their lives. Some people have to go back to make dinner, to take care of the children, take care of business. So
bye, everyone.
As we always say, if I have an idea
and you have an idea, then
that's great.
Just an idea.
Have an idea. But it's when we come together to bring these ideas together that those eureka moments happen and great things really begin to happen.
Absolutely.
So thank you once again. We're out. Another edition of Likkle Byte Ideas. Take care, guys. Next Thursday. See you back here at 5.